Hello. Hi, everyone. Hello. Got some people already waiting, so that was nice to see. Already got some comments coming in. Hi, Bandit Queen. Hi, Linda. I'm glad you caught me. That's good. Linda was just about to step out and she saw my thumbnail. Already got 23 people, 24 people. This is lovely. This is so nice. I'll just wait a minute. I'll just talk about, well, nothing much while you all join in. So it's lovely to see you all. Well, not to see you, but to know that you're there joining in. Hi, Kanga. Good evening from York, England. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Connie. Hi, Laurie. Lots of people joining in. So do excuse the messy office behind, which I share with my husband. I explained last week we're having some work done on our sort of living room at the moment. So yeah, we've moved things in here, so it's even more chaotic than it is normally. Hi, Juniper Cats. Curious about the duck in your thumbnail. Yeah, that's my Henry VIII rubber duck. I've got a Henry VIII one. I've got a Mary Queen of Scots one. Trying to think what others. I've got quite a few. You can quite often get them from sort of historic places in the UK. I think like Hever Castle sell them. I've had them as presents as well. My dear friend Dawn, I think, got me one as well. Hi, Tara. Hi, Isuk. Hi, Maria. Oh, Maria from Sweden. Linda's from Florida. Marie, California. A messy office is the sign of a brilliant professor, says Sarah. Oh, that's good. It's very messy. It's even more messy because I've been taking all my Henry VIII books off the bookshelf so that I can share them with you. Tim says it sounds great. Thank you, Tim. Tim's taken the animals off so that they, the dogs, so that they don't start barking and that. So he's just gone upstairs with them. Hi, Raven, Scotland. Hi, Barbara. Lots of people. Gretchen. It's lovely to have so many of you. You might have noticed that I've put a pinned message in the chat, just saying that I had put the early B, which stands for early bird, early B23 coupon. It was supposed to run out. This is for my online Henry VIII and his 6 wives event. It was supposed to run out yesterday, but I've actually added some time to it, so you should be able to use it. If you don't know about this event, you can go and find it on claireridgway.com. I put a link there, but you'll also find it on the homepage of claireridgway.com. It gives you $50 off, so early B23. So you should be able to use that. If you have any problems, then just let me know and I can sort it for you anyway. So many people joining in. Thank you. And I have to say a special thank you. So it's saying no tears or no. She's gone to bed, bless her, in her onesie because she's getting very cold at the moment. Little dogs just seem to feel the cold, don't they? So many of you. I just need to, want to give a shout out to new members because I've just started the membership of the YouTube channel. New members, Lynn, Catherine, Teresa, Christine, and Colleen. Thank you so much to you for supporting my YouTube channel. It's really lovely to have you on board and to be able to sort of give you updates as to what I'm doing. And thank you also to those that, those of you that follow everything I do and join in on my lives and come to my events, comment on everything I do. It's just nice to know that I'm not speaking to a vacuum. So this is really, really lovely. So thank you. So many comments. Thank you. So today, I thought a cat was going to jump on me then, but she's decided to walk the other way. Today we're talking about Henry VIII books, and these are just ones that I've taken down from my messy bookcase behind. Thank you, Sam. Likes my sweater. Yes, Stitch, my spirit animal, really. These are just books that I found useful, ones that I've used for my research. sometimes with history books, I don't sit down and read them from cover to cover. Sometimes I just sort of dip into them because I want sort of specific topics, or I might be looking for a specific reference. And I can't give you a rundown of every single book that I'm going to show you because it will be quite a while since I read some of them. But they're all ones that are in my collection that I found useful. So I'm going to start. So let's start, I've got different piles around. Let's start with some Henry VIII biographies. So I'm going to show them to you, and I'll read out the title and the author as well. Some of them are a bit dusty. So David Lloyd's biography of Henry VIII, you can see, this is obviously the hardback version, but you can see it's rather biblical proportions. It's rather large. This is from Amberley Publishing. So that's one that I've used a fair amount. I do like David Lloyd's work, the late David Lloyd, sadly. So David Lloyd's Henry VIII. So, and I'll try and put these together in a list as well, and perhaps add those in the description of this live for when it goes on YouTube as a sort of static video, so that you've got a kind of list of reading. So there you go. That's David Lloyd's biography of Henry VIII. So I'm starting with biographies which really cover, you know, the whole of Henry's life and reign. So we have that. Then this one is a kind of biography of Henry. This is David Starkey. It's called Henry Virtuous Prince. Again, I've got the hardback version of this, and people are going to kill me now. Some of you are going to get annoyed with me because I have turned down corners of it. Sorry about that. But yes, there's quite a few corners turned down. Don't know whether you can see that. So that's one I've used a lot. I love this one. It is a biography, but it's really looking at Henry VIII's sort of early life, really. Yeah, sort of looking at him as the kind of Renaissance prince, that virtuous prince. We really need David Starkey. If you are tuning in, or anybody is in contact with him, we really need the second part, please. You keep promising, but we really need the second part. Then we have J.J. Scarisbrick's biography. Lots of people, Christine saying that she likes David Starkey. Bandit Queen, is this recorded? Yes, the lives, they stay on YouTube, so you'll be able to see. If you need to pop out, then you'll see it. Messy hair. J.J. Scarisbrick's book on Henry VIII, again, really huge. This is a very battered copy. That covers the whole of Henry VIII's life and reign. It's huge, but very, very detailed. Lots of references, notes as well. I've actually got 2 copies of this because Claire Shepherd, if she's watching, I haven't seen any comments from her, but Claire Shepherd kindly, when she saw that my my book was slightly battered, kindly sent me, she had a copy of, it's again Henry VIII by J.J. Scarisbrick, but it's hardback and it's illustrated, and she kindly posted this to me. It's got a beautiful portrait of Henry. So that is Henry VIII by J.J. Scarisbrick. So those are some biographies. We've got a few more biographies for you. We have Henry VIII by John Matusiak. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Henry VIII, The Life and Rule of England's Nero. And you can tell from that title what John Matusiak might actually think of Henry VIII. This is one that I've more sort of dipped into rather than read cover to cover. But it says, John Matusiak paints a colourful and absorbingly intimate portrait of a man wholly unfit for power. So you can tell where John Matusiak is coming from with his bio of Henry VIII there. Then moving on to Robert Hutchinson. Now, you've probably heard of Robert Hutchinson. He's done some sort of documentaries. I think he was in that documentary that I think you can find on YouTube with Lucy Worsley, and that looking into sort of Henry VIII's medical sort of issues, and sort of really trying to do I suppose an autopsy post-mortem on Henry VIII, and looking at the theories about his medical issues. Robert Hutchinson's written lots and lots of books, and I've got a few of his. I've got these two. I think these are the only two I've got on Henry VIII. So we've got Young Henry, The Rise of Henry VIII, which is self-explanatory. And then we've got, looking at the other part of Henry, Robert Hutchinson, The Last Days of Henry VIII. So those two, one looking at the young Henry and one looking at his final days, both by Robert Hutchinson. Now, what I like about Robert Hutchinson is he writes in a very, very readable way. In fact, all of the ones that I've said so far, I would say aren't too heavy. David Loades, J.J. Scarisbrick, David Starkey, John Matusiak, Robert Hutchinson, all very readable. Dorothy's saying, I'd like to know which is the best to read first. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the ones that are in my collection. Then I'm going to do a top 3. And then I'm going to do, if you only had the money or the time and effort to read one book, to buy one book or get one from the library, which one I would say is a good one to sort of give you a fantastic kind of overview, insight into Henry VIII. Okay, so I will be sort of, these, I've got lots here, so I'm just giving you I'm just showing them to you, but then I will really get it down to my top 3 and my top 1. So Robert Hutchinson, another one who writes in a very readable way. He's a historian that's written lots and lots of books. I've got his book on Holbein, for example. I've got his fiction books as well. He's done fiction books based in the Tudor era. It's Derek Wilson. I think he did one on the Dudleys as well, didn't he? He's done lots and lots and lots. Oh, and Martin Luther too. This one is called Henry VIII, Reformer and Tyrant. So again, you can tell from the title the historian's kind of view of Henry VIII. So yeah, as a young man, he gained a reputation as an intellectual and fair prince, yet he ruled the nation like a tyrant and treated his subjects as cruelly as he treated his wives. So that's the viewpoint of Derek Wilson. So Derek Wilson, another very, very readable one, not academic, not too heavy. This one is actually an ex-library book, and it's rather battered. This one is Henry VIII by J.J. Bagley. I've had that a long time, and I can't actually remember what I thought of it. But again, it covers absolutely everything from Henry's early life, his inheritance, marriage, him and Catherine, all the way to war against Scotland, war against France, and then the father of his people, activity in spite of infirmity. So it goes right to the end of his life. So another sort of full biography. Then a shorter one, which is highly illustrated as well, is Richard Rex, Henry VIII. So that is, you can see, is much, much shorter. So Richard Rex, another good historian who's written lots. And then Lacey Baldwin Smith's book. This one's a hardback, but it will be available in paperback now. All these are quite a few years old. This is Amberley Publishing. Henry VIII by Lacey Baldwin Smith. Lacey Baldwin Smith's, I've also got his biography of Catherine Howard, which I really enjoyed. I would say that's readable too sort of not too academic, a readable sort of style. So those are the main sort of what I'd call biographies, covering the whole of sort of Henry VIII's life and reign, sort of not specific topics, but biographies. I'm now going to move on to ones that handle specific topics. So we have got how fat was Henry VIII? I can't remember where I picked this one up from. Can't remember whether I got sent it to review, but it's how fat was Henry VIII and 101 other questions on royal history. So it's not actually really about Henry VIII. That's just one of the questions. Ever wondered how fat Henry VIII really was, or what made Mary I bloody? So it's looking at, these the questions that a lot of people have about sort of British history. So Raymond Lamont Brown, I can't remember what other ones it's got. Oh, I was sent it by the author. That was a long time ago. So yeah, royal conundrums, pretenders and usurpers, royal marriages and romances, murders, plots and assassinations, courtiers, crowns, coronations, quaint and quirky. So not about Henry VIII, just got Henry VIII on the front, and that question makes you think that it's going to be about Henry VIII, but it's more about people's questions about royalty. Just checking your comments. How fat poor Henry. Didn't think I could feel sorry for him, but that does. Yeah, RT is saying Lacey Godwin Smith's bio, Catherine has really interesting on Tudor royal life generally. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yes, Dorothy, Henry VIII on the cover of books definitely does sell books. Then we had David Starkey again. So this is the reign of Henry VIII, personalities and politics. Much sort of thinner. But yeah, so it's looking at the political side of things rather than being a biography of Henry VIII. So yeah, it says Henry VIII was almost never alone. He was surrounded 24 hours a day by the small group of intimates and personal attendants who made up the staff of his privy chamber. So it says the reign of Henry VIII is not so much a book about Henry VIII, it's about the great game of politics over which he presided. So more about his privy council, his privy chamber, and the politics in his reign. So Julie's asking me, how do I rate Alison Weir as a historian? Well, I have lots of Alison Weir books, and in fact, I can't show you the book that I've got on Henry VIII of hers because it's on my Kindle, but it's one that I've used a lot. What's it called? Henry VIII, King and Court, which really gives some interesting snippets, like, Henry VIII and his horses. What down to the sort of details of what breeds of horses he had and his favourite horses, and that really gives you insights into Henry and his court. So I have lots of Alison Weir books. You can't really see my shelf because I put these panels just so I don't get it, because it's quite a big room. It gets quite echoey if I don't have the sound panels. But yes, I do have lots of Alison Weir books. Okay, another topic, the divorce of Henry VIII by Catherine Fletcher. So I've got notes sticking out of that. So again, about a particular topic, the divorce. Of course, some people would say, oh no, but he didn't have divorces, he had annulments. But obviously the word divorce is kind of used in a broad sense. So that's looking at Catherine Fletcher, more academic read, and that's looking at the great matter, and looking specifically at the work of Italian diplomat Gregorio Cassoli, and the great matter, what was going on at the Vatican with the Pope. So that's much more, I would say, academic in its style, but very good for those that are wanting to delve into the ins and outs of what was going on the political side of the great matter. So Laurie is saying, which book is your favourite? I'm going to say that at the end, so that means you have to keep tuned. So okay, that's what it is. Another more academic one, and I think actually it was rather expensive. Henry VIII and the Court, Art, Politics and Performance. Now this one is edited by Thomas Bettridge and Susanna Lipscomb. Sorry, it's a bit get lots of reflections on that. It's a very, very shiny cover. Now this one is it's edited by those two, Thomas Bettridge and Susanna Lipscomb, because it's actually a collection of academic articles. You've got G.W. Bernard, Maria Hayward, Glenn Richardson, Elizabeth Hurren, Kent Rawlinson, Brett Dolman, just reading out a few, Catherine Fletcher, Eamon Duffy, Susan Brigden, Susanna Lipscomb, Stephen Gunn, all sort of different academic articles. So we've got like the Field of Cloth of Gold covered, medicine, architecture and royal image, the King's Reformation, Henry and Holbein, Hampton Court, Henry VIII and Cardinal Pole, the account of Catherine Parr in Fox's Book of Martyrs, all sorts of things to do with Henry VIII and Henry VIII's reign, more academic. I can't remember. I was using it for, I can't remember what I was using it for, but there was something specific and I really wanted a specific article that was in it. And of course, you have to buy the whole book, but I've enjoyed the other articles as well. So it was well worth it for me as a researcher. Then we've got The Matrimonial Trials of Henry VIII by Henry Ansgar Kelly. I was forever seeing this referenced in other works, in journal articles and other books on Henry VIII. Oh, thank you, Kirsten, for your donation. Kirsten's just asking, is there a collection of letters and court papers from Henry, Anne and Elizabeth from that time period? Yes, yeah, there are lots of letters and dispatches, letters and papers, foreign and domestic. Henry VIII has abbreviated sort of versions of them, and you can find that on British History Online. So yeah, Google British History Online, and then it's got a catalogue of resources, and if you look for letters and papers, and then you've also got you'll find stuff to do with like Mary I and Elizabeth I on there as well. But yes, this one, The Matrimonial Trials of Henry VIII, is obviously to do with Henry's marriages. So of course the great matter, and it's also got it covers Henry's marriage to Anne Boleyn, and obviously that was then annulled after her fall, and Anne of Cleves as well. It says particularly noteworthy is the author's reconstruction of the Legatine trial at Blackfriars in 1529, in which he brings to light the complete court record for the first time in 260 years. So this one is brilliant if you want to know more about Henry VIII's great matter and all the proceedings involved in that. Making a very high pile here. I just hope it doesn't fall over. One that I've really enjoyed because I enjoy Derek Wilson's writing style is this one, In the Lion's Court: Power, Ambition and Sudden Death in the Reign of Henry VIII. So again, it's not a biography of Henry VIII. It's more looking at power, ambition and sudden death in the reign of Henry VIII, what it was like to be there in Henry VIII's reign. So it talks about, Wolsey, Thomas More, Thomas Cromwell, Thomas Howard, Duke of Norfolk, and those surrounding Henry that were part of his court. I suppose the dangers that they had to cope with being as part of Henry VIII's court. Another one looking at a particular topic is this one, 1536, by Susanna Lipscomb. Susanna Lipscomb, you'll know from documentaries. She's done so many documentaries. This one, I love this one. It's written again in a really readable style, but it's looking particularly at the year 1536, because Susanna Lipscomb argues that 1536 was a year of challenges for Henry VIII. That it was something that changed him. It says on the back, we discover that in 1536, Henry met many failures, physical, personal, and political, and emerged from them a different man, a revolutionary new king who proceeded to transform a nation and reform a religion. So, of course, 1536, you've got the death of Catherine of Aragon at the beginning of the year. Anne Boleyn has her miscarriage, or you've then obviously got the fall of Anne Boleyn and everything that involved, because of course it didn't just involve Anne Boleyn, it involved courtiers, men close to Henry VIII. You know, if you think about Henry Norris, for example, he was one of Henry VIII's closest friends. He was groom of the stall. So it was the fall of courtiers that were close to the king as well. You've got his marriage to Jane Seymour. You've got the Pilgrimage of Grace rebellion. You've got all sorts of things. You've got Henry's manhood being questioned by the what came out, what George Boleyn said at the trial, you know, about what Anne Boleyn was said to have confided to Jane Boleyn about Henry's sexual problems. So you've got all that coming out, which was a challenge to his masculinity and his power, his image. And then, all the challenges like the Pilgrimage of Grace rebellion, his country rebelling against him, or part of the country rebelling against him. So Susanna Lipscomb argues that 1536 was a key year that really, really affected Henry VIII as a man and king. So that's a very, very interesting one. So those are ones, so I've done biographies and I've done ones that are about sort of certain topics to do with Henry VIII. Are there any books that just write about interpersonal relationships? What would I say for that? Probably the in the Lion's Court, Derek Wilson, sort of more about that. Christine saying that one sounds very interesting. I think that's about Susanna Lipscomb. Yes, yeah. Oh, and Francesca saying, isn't 1536 the dissolution of the monasteries? Yeah, it started slightly earlier, but it sort of came to sort of ahead in 1536. Of course, and John Skipp's sermon, which was supported by Anne Boleyn, sort of really attacking the king and the advice that the king was receiving about the money from the dissolution of the monasteries. A few people asking, is this live going to be available afterwards? Yes, on YouTube, you'll be able to find it in, if you go to, the Anne Boleyn Pulse and Tudor Society channel, I think it will be under lives. I think that's how they do it, but you'll be able to see it, and I will share it around. Anyway, Catherine's saying, any good one that discusses his relationships with his children in depth? Oh, actually, one I haven't grabbed. Yes, John Guy, The Children of Henry VIII. Does that go into his relationships with his children, or does it just go? I can't remember. But I know one, Melita Thomas, The King's Pearl, is about Mary's relationship with her father. That's an interesting one. Amanda's saying, Amazon will wonder why there's a sudden rush on Henry VIII books. Yes, definitely. Okay, so now ones that are about sort of artifacts, documents, primary sources to do with Henry VIII. This one is so beautifully put together. Susanna Lipscomb, The King is Dead, the last will and testament of Henry VIII. I mean, beautiful cover, isn't it? I've got the hardback version. It's just beautiful. And it's got, photos of Henry VIII's will. And it is, I've got it was sent to me by Susanna, which was very, very kind of her. So yeah, it's all the background to Henry VIII's will, explains every single bit of Henry VIII's will. It's just a wonderful book. Henry's will is one of the most intriguing and contested documents in British history. In The King is Dead, Susanna Lipscomb not only explores the background to the drafting of the will and the last days of the dying king, but also offers her own illuminating interpretation of a key constitutional document of the Tudor period, illustrated with lots and lots of portraits as well. But not only of Henry VIII, of sort of his courtiers. So it's a beautifully put together book. So that's specifically on Henry VIII's will. So there's that one. This one I've used a lot. This one is The Books of King Henry VIII and His Wives by James P. Carley. James Carley, fascinating. I've even actually got the cover bent in on one page that I've used a lot, but it looks at, I mean, here you see one page, it opens at this page because I've used it so much. You can see the Anne Boleyn's Falcon badge. That comes from, of course, the Ecclesiast, which was a manuscript that George Boleyn commissioned, had done for Anne when she became Marquess of Pembroke. It's got beautiful images of books, documents, and manuscripts owned by Henry VIII's wives, and also the king himself. It's highly illustrated. It's just a beautiful book that gives you so many details on the works that were owned by the king and his wives. Carolyn saying, I've got a book from the library by Robert Hutchinson called Henry VIII, Decline and Fall of a Tyrant. Do you know about that one? Wonder if I've got that one on my Kindle. And I wonder if it's another title of The Last Days of Henry VIII or whether it's a separate one. I'm not sure, but I haven't got that one in this pile. So I'm not sure, I can't remember. So sorry about that. Then we got this one. This one is a catalogue for an exhibition quite a few years ago now. Henry VIII, Man and Monarch. The catalogue was edited by Susan Doran. I love it. I got it because it's got so many beautiful illustrations of artifacts to do with Henry VIII, as well as, I mean, look, filled with cloth of gold. It's just beautiful. I couldn't get to the exhibition itself, so this was the next best thing, having the catalogue of the exhibition. Just fantastic. Then this one I've used a fair bit as well. Henry VIII, A European Court in England, edited by David Starkey. I think this is another of those that's got sort of academic articles, like more academic in style. Yeah, Greenwich Palace by Simon Thurley, Stained Glass in Henry VIII's Palaces by Hilary Waymont, The Early Tudor Tournament, Stephen Gunn. I'm just picking out ones here. The Bedchamber, The Cleves Marriage, Fatal Matrimony, Henry VIII and the Marriage to Anne of Cleves, by Rory McIntyre. Henry VIII and Map Making, Peter Barber, Greenwich and Henry VIII's Royal Library by James Carley, The Religion of Henry VIII by Dermot McCulloch. So lots of more sort of academic style articles in that one. And then one that I've used so much, this is very expensive. Oh, thank you, Kirsten. Have you ever thought of publishing a collection of only letters, court papers, etc., coffee table book with only actual documents and letters? I think that would be probably rather expensive to do, because it really does cost a lot to get the permissions to use photographs and scan sort of images for books. So I think my problem with that is I like to have my books being affordable. So it's really hard if you're putting together a coffee table book of documents and things to actually make it affordable. This one, this cost me a lot of money, and I think I got it. I think I saved Amazon vouchers for it, but I've used it so much that for me as a historian and researcher, it was key. It's called The Inventory of King Henry VIII, the transcript. I think it's edited by David Starkey, if I remember rightly. Yes, General Editor David Starkey, transcribed by Philip Ward. It is the inventory that was taken at Henry VIII's death. So at his different palaces and properties. So, for example, I've just opened this page. The Tower at Portsmouth, what was found? Slingshot of iron, for example. Longbows old. It's just, and what for me, it was really interesting looking through it and seeing items that were related to Henry VIII's wives. And for me, Anne Boleyn, looking at things that he still had when he died that could be traced back to the Boleyns, things with like H&A, emblems on them. So yeah, it is just detailed inventory. You can't read that obviously, but each of those numbers is items that were found at different palaces. I've used these for videos that I've done. For example, I think, did we do a Teasel's Tudor trivia on Henry VIII wearing spectacles? And I went through this and looked at every mention of eyeglasses and spectacles, and spectacle cases and magnifying glasses that he used for reading. And that, and it's just fascinating. I've used it so much. Just having a look, check that I'm not missing too much. I mean, I'll have to go through your questions in a bit. So I've gone through most. I mean, obviously, I've got loads of books on Henry VIII's wives. This, I was really just focusing on Henry VIII himself. But yes, I've got, the Six Wives books by David Starkey, Antonia Fraser. Who else did Six Wives? David Lowes. I've got all of those, and biographies of the Six Wives, biographies of various courtiers and that. But this, I was really, really wanting to look at Henry VIII himself. So now I've gone through all of that. A few of you have asked me what I'd actually recommend, because obviously giving you that list, unless you've suddenly come into quite a lot of money, it's a bit off-putting, isn't it? You're thinking, I can't afford all of that. And you might also not have shelf space for all of that. So what would I recommend you if you're really wanting to, perhaps you're starting off in researching Henry VIII, or you just want to know more about this man who, changed England, and yes, executed 2 wives. Okay, so top 3 books about Henry VIII, in my opinion, ones that I have enjoyed. I would say Henry VIII by J.J. Scarisbrick. Okay, so Henry VIII by J.J. Scarisbrick, either this version or there's the hardback illustrated version. I would say Henry Virtuous Prince by David Starkey. That's hardback, but that will also be the paperback version of that available. And Henry VIII by David Lowes. Those would be my top 3 reads on Henry VIII, sort of Henry VIII general biographies. Those are the ones that I would recommend as good starts. Sorry, that was just a cat attacking me there. Those are good starts to Henry VIII. And if you wanted to read something, now I can't find it, that's more topical, then I would go for 1536, don't know where I've put it, by Susanna Lipscomb. So yeah, so those are my top 3. So going over them again: David Lowes, Henry VIII; Virtuous Prince, David Starkey; and Henry VIII, J.J. Scarisbrick. Good all-round reads, not too heavy, not too academic, very readable in style, and will give you a really good understanding of Henry VIII from different viewpoints as well. So those are my top 3. Linda is asking, any of those on Audible? I'm not really an Audible user, so I'm not entirely sure, but thank you, Linda, for your kind donation. Any of those on Audible? I would say so. I'm sure David Starkey's would be, but I can't say for sure 100%. Oh, thank you though. Now, I've also been asked what my top one is. So if you just want one that you want to cover Henry VIII as king, as a man, which one would I recommend you buy? So my top tip, my top recommendation for Henry VIII books has to be J.J. Scarisbrick's Henry VIII. And that's because although it is huge, I find it readable in style. And for me, I like good referencing, and it's got a really good sort of bibliography and notes section. So either as the paperback, or there is the by the Folio Society, there is the hardback version with notes. So I just love Scarisbrick's. Henry VIII's flamboyant and forceful personality dominated his age and has never lost its fascination. Here, Professor Scarisbrick writes with an eloquence and authority worthy of the importance of his subject, and his book has become the standard life of Henry VIII. It's an oldie but goodie. Really enjoyed it. So that one is my top recommendation for a full biography of Henry VIII to give you a good understanding. And J.J. Scarisbrick didn't pay me to say that. It's a good one. So let's have a look at your questions. Francesca, are you still in Spain? Your daily little videos about the Tudors back in the first lockdown were a lifesaver. Oh, yes, I'm still in Spain. This is my house, which is, I think, 370 years old now in Spain, in a little white village. So, yes, I'm a Brit, but I'm doing this from Andalusia in Spain. Kirsten is asking top academic book. Oh, so a lot of the ones I've said, you know, for example, by Hutchinson, by David Starkey, I mean, although they're not an academic style, and Derek Wilson as well, they can be used academically because they are very well, the notes and references are very good on them. More academic style. The one I found the most useful is the inventory of Henry VIII, just because I have enjoyed finding out about the things that he owned, the things that were in his palace and that. But this is not really an academic biography that I can recommend. I suppose Henry VIII and the Court, which is that collection of articles, that one, and Henry VIII, a European Court in England. So sort of more heavy and going over quite a few topics, academic sort of style, these two. So Henry VIII, a European Court in England, and Henry VIII and the Court, Art, Politics and Performance. Those two that have articles by different academics. So yeah, those more academic in style. So, oh, Kathy, just caught this at the end. Well, don't worry, because you'll be able to watch it when I've finished. It will be there on YouTube for you. Margaret, thank you. This was super fun, and now I have a great reading list. Oh, that's good. Oh, Dorothy, one of the best things about Claire is that she gives the sources. I do that because I appreciate other authors and historians giving their sources, because what I hate is when I read someone's viewpoint saying something, for example, about Henry VIII, And I want to know why they've got that viewpoint, what they're basing that on. And then I'm looking at their book and I can't find a reference. You know, what are you basing that argument on? I want to know. So that's why I try and reference my work, because I found it useful that other people do. And for example, one book that I could think of that's really well referenced that I've enjoyed, not about Henry VIII, but about Jane Boleyn, Lady Rochford by Julia Fox. That one, I would say, the notes and references is as long as the actual text of the book itself. And I found just as interesting, if not more interesting, than the book itself. It was just really, really well referenced. Flashery, could your books be used in academic writing? I know people that have. It would depend on what your tutor would say. I'm a popular historian. I'm not an academic historian, but my work is referenced, and I know people do have used it because I do cite my sources, and I do my research is based in the primary sources. I use dispatches, letters, the documents themselves, rather than just biographies about a person. Right. Sorry if I've missed sort of questions as I've been talking. Just having a look. I think I've answered that. Tara, have you considered writing books solely on Henry VIII? No, I haven't, because there are so many on him. I'm not sure that I've got anything kind of new to say, or a sort of different point of view. So that's why I'm doing these lives. I mean, if you missed my live last week, I explained about how I'm doing a whole series of lives on Henry VIII, just because I want to explore him and share my points of view. So I'll do it this way instead. I'll do it video media instead of books, because I just don't feel, I don't feel that I've got anything groundbreaking. But I like to think that I'm being new in how I present my views and my research. So that's how I handle it. So look, Teacher Max is saying that yes, Susanna Lipscomb's good. Yeah. Do you plan to do any sessions specifically on Thomas Cromwell? I have covered Thomas Cromwell quite a fair bit in my other sort of videos, like my On This Day videos, and then looking at Anne Boleyn's fall and that, but not at the moment specifically on Thomas Cromwell. I'm doing this live series, these regular lives looking at Henry VIII, and I made a huge sort of brainstorm web of topics on Henry VIII that you kindly helped me with last week. By giving me ideas. I've come up with my own ideas. We've got lots to talk about Henry VIII. Julie, does 1536 also include when he was knocked unconscious? Yeah, during the jousting. Yes, it does include his jousting accident. Rusty Toddler, my dog's name is Henry Fitzroy. He's a legitimate, love that. Shame. People sometimes forget there's more to Henry in his reign than his 6 wives. Yeah, there's so much more. I mean, okay, the great matter, did stem from Henry VIII wanting to set aside Catherine for Anne Boleyn, but there was more behind it than that. Henry's conscience over marrying his brother's widow, his need for a male heir, and then of course there's the break with Rome and Henry's beliefs about the Pope, the authority of the Pope. So just looking at the great matter is not just about marriage. And yeah, the politics, the men that surrounded him. Tracy Borman actually is, if you missed the beginning, I talked about my Henry VIII and his 6 wives event. You'll see the pinned post there. I've given you a coupon code. But Tracy Borman's done quite a lot of work looking at the men surrounding Henry VIII, and also the private life of Henry VIII. She's going to be talking to us about the private life of Henry VIII. So there's that as well. There's medicine, Henry VIII's health issues. There's the dissolution of the monasteries. There's the rebellions of Henry VIII's reign. There's Henry VIII in Ireland. There are all sorts of topics that are nothing to do with his wives. Just checking. Do I think Henry was a good monarch? No. No, is the simple answer to that. I think he did a lot of damage to England, both in its landscape, with the dissolution of the monasteries, both to the social welfare of the country, did so much damage to his people. And I mean, Ireland, what else? The dissolution of the monasteries, I think, is my main issue with Henry VIII. His treatment of people that were loyal to him as well. So no, I don't think he was a good monarch. I think his people suffered because of things that he did. Bandit Queen saying today's the birthday of Princess Mary. It is February the 18th, 1516. Of course, Princess Mary, who became Mary I, the first official Queen Regnant of England. Yes, that's it. Tara saying, one of my best buys was the inventory book. I love reading the entry for the Anne and Henry clock and the double portrait of Henry and Jane. There's also a similar one from 1542 at Whitehall. Yeah, it's interesting looking at the art, the pieces of art that was still, in the palaces. But yeah, I like just the little things. It's even like down to cutlery and all sorts. Just the little objects and artifacts that were found in the palaces. Dorothy saying the inventory would be fascinating, but I'm trying to cut my book buying. Yeah, Catherine agrees with you. Christine saying I have The Six Wives by Antonio Fraser. Yeah, The Six Wives book, that's a good one. Julia saying, to my mind, Henry VIII was a great king when he pulled England away from Catholicism to Protestantism. But he actually didn't really. I mean, Henry VIII died a Catholic, didn't he? It was really only Edward VI's reign that we see the English Reformation really taking off. And then, of course, Elizabeth I's religious settlement. Henry VIII had issues with the Pope being in authority. He did not have issues with the Catholic faith. He had issues with reformers and them taking things too far. He wanted to get rid of abuses in the church. He wanted to get rid of giving money to the Pope, giving power to the Pope. But I wouldn't say that he pulled England away from Catholicism at all. That's my viewpoint. Let's look. Oh, thank you, Kirsten. You're being so kind. You taught me so much throughout your time on YouTube. I can never afford to spoil you. I want you to put this $10 towards your Amazon vouchers. Oh, that's kind. Thank you. I want to buy the new book on Jane Boleyn. Oh, by James Taff, is it? I can't remember his name. Something like that. He's got a very different view to my own on Jane Boleyn. But yes, my dear friend, Dr. Owen Emerson, has said that I've got to read it, that it's very well argued, and I've got to read it. And I do love being challenged by people that have different views to me. It's always fun being challenged because it makes you look at the sources again and to get your argument, to clarify your own viewpoint and your argument. So I will definitely be buying that. Thank you. Gabby, is there a chance for a lot of documents and pictures from the Tudor era still to be found? I think so, Gabby, because Stephen Gunn, for example, Professor Stephen Gunn a few years ago found, for example, the post-mortem report of Amy Robsart, Robert Dudley's wife, who was found dead at the bottom of the stairs, found that it had been misplaced, misfiled. And so he found that he was looking for something else and found that, looking into other post-mortems, so that had been misfiled. I think there are all sorts of things that are, in archives that just have been misfiled or haven't been seen properly, or that are in private collections, like portraits as well, that are in private collections in bank vaults and all sorts that we just don't know still exist and are there, but just sort of hidden. So, yeah. Do I agree, Rusty Toddler, that Henry is under the floor in St. George's Chapel? Yes, yeah. I don't see there's anything to challenge the fact that his body is there. It's definitely recorded as being buried there. And I think his remains were still there. Was it Charles the First was put into the same vault? I can't remember, and obviously Jane Seymour as well. Argyll was Lady Rochford sad, mad, or bad? I don't think any of those really. I think I've done a video, quite a few videos on Jane Boleyn, Lady Rochford. I don't think there's any evidence in my mind that she did anything to bring George Boleyn and Anne Boleyn down. And I believe that her involvement in Catherine Howard's fall was simply her being the Queen's lady in waiting and doing Queen's bidding and getting herself in a mess by helping them once and committing misprision of treason because she'd done it once, and then not being able to get out of that situation. Sorry if I'm missing lots out. Brendan, I think David Starkey's book, Henry VIII, Personalities and Politics, is incredibly lucid. Yep. Patricia, do you have the credentials to teach at university? Think you could teach the history of Tudors? No, I don't. So, no, I don't have those qualifications or credentials, I'm afraid to say. Oh, thank you, Kirsten, for being a member as well. Oh, it's so lovely. Any more questions? I'm sorry if I've missed lots, but there are so many. But yeah, if you are interested in joining me and quite a few others, I think there are 6 of us historians in May, totally online, so from the comfort of your own home, Zoom calls and online chats and video talks. We'll be covering Henry VIII and his 6 wives. It's officially in May, starts May the 22nd, I think, but we're doing Zoom calls twice a month at the moment, discussing different topics to do with Henry VIII and his 6 wives. So if you look at the pinned post that I've put, pinned comment, it gives you a coupon code and it gives you a link, but it's on claireridgway.com on the homepage or under the events tab on that. It would be lovely to have you joining us. Bandit Queen, Claire, you're qualified to teach at continuing education at university, which is for anyone. I guess so. I mean, my background is I was a primary school teacher. I don't have a history degree. I don't pretend I have a history degree. My degree is in religion and education. In fact, it was because I covered did the history of Christianity, which of course a big part of that was like the Reformation, the European Reformation and the English Reformation. So coming at it from coming at Henry VIII's reign from quite a different perspective. So looking at the Reformation and that. So yeah, so that was interesting, covering it from a religious aspect. But yes, my background is I was a primary school teacher for a few years. Are there any books on just Henry's letters, the personal ones? One that I haven't shown you, actually, which I have, is a book in German on Henry VIII's love letters to Anne Boleyn. I mean, there are various versions in English, which are, the letters transcribed and translated, because a few of them are in French. you can get quite a few versions of those, but I wanted this German book. It's a hardback book, because it's actually got photos of all the letters that are in the Vatican archives. So I just wanted that book because it's beautifully illustrated with photos of each of the letters, as well as transcripts of the original. So you get the original French, for example, and then translated. And I just love it. It's a fantastic resource. Kirsten, will you be doing another big trip or tour again? I don't have any plans to do tours. I stopped touring when the pandemic happened, and then I sort of moved more online. I did more on YouTube. I started doing online events because during the pandemic, it was impossible to travel. And coming out of the pandemic, I just thought there are so many people that, were telling me that they can't really either afford the expense or the time to travel to the UK. So I've gone more into bringing history into people's homes via the internet, via video, via Zoom, via live streams. So I'm more concentrating on bringing history to people where you are, so you don't have to go anywhere. So no, I'm not planning on doing any physical tours at the moment. Well, that is the hour. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I will definitely be writing up a list for you of the books I've mentioned. But yeah, just so anyone that's just joining in, the book that I've said, if you only get one book on Henry VIII, then do look out for J.J. Scarisbrick's book on Henry VIII. This is quite an old one, so its cover will have changed, I'm sure. But Henry VIII, J.J. Scarisbrick will give you a really, really good overview of the man and the king, his life and his reign. So that is my top recommendation. Christine's just saying, are you excited for the coronation of King Charles? I am, yes, because I just love the ritual and traditions associated with these events. Go back centuries. I will recognize as I watch the coronation on TV, I will recognize elements of it from the primary sources about the coronations of the Tudor monarchs, because these things are just, they don't change. So yes, I am looking forward to it. Oh, thank you for all the lovely comments. Brendan saying Scarisbrick is still in vogue and it came out in 1968. It probably did, yeah. Yes, first published 1968. This one in 1976. So yes. So, but I don't think the views have really massively changed on Henry VIII. So it's still a good one. Yep, thank you. Oh, it's so lovely to get all your lovely comments. Yeah, the time did fly. Rusty Toddler definitely did. Oh, Lyndall, sorry, I just arrived. I will watch the replay. Oh, yes, it's easy to find the replay. So don't worry if you've tuned in late, you'll be able to watch the whole thing. So thank you. And I will see you soon. I will let you know. I've got to look at my calendar to schedule my next live stream for you, but I do intend to do these regularly. So yes. So I will see you very soon. Oh, Christine's using the emojis that Tim designed for members. Oh, thank you. They look great. I haven't actually seen them properly being used, but they look great. There's a bee necklace, there's a sad Elizabeth, and then there's the Anne Boleyn medal. So it's great to see those. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.